Bombshell tonight. Chris Benoit's death is what gave me the real motivation other than the letter. I couldn't have done it without Vince's letter, though, because I was so hooked on methadone, drugs, so forth. So I was in methadone treatment, 300 milligrams a day, enough to kill a cow. Started at 40, went all the way up to 300. I was so hooked on the painkillers after about 30 surgeries. Wrestling's fake, though, right? Come on, just joking. It's entertainment. Yes, it is. But we're stuntmen. Everything we do is real. Okay? Just always remember that. There's nothing fake about it. Benoit made it to People magazine. I read it real clear. I read it about 5 times. Because I knew what was going down, man. I knew back from the blowjobs that you and Hulk got from Nancy, and this is no disgrace to Nancy's family, man. It's got to be told. Your daughter's dead now, so it's got to be told. So here's the People magazine. Oh wait, I want to show this one first. Here's why I had to hide under the mask, because Vince, the commissioner, and the Frankie trial in Salem, the murder in January 17th of '89. If I was to be there as the only witness, every other witness is dead. Tried to kill me too, but I'm still here. That's me under the mask hiding his black blood. 2 days away from signing a contract. That's the funny part about it, for $1.2 million. I'll get that, buddy, thanks. $1.2 million. Even with the knee that was totally off. And Ted Turner took care of me, 75 grand. Thanks, Ted. You're the only man that has tried to help the boys out. But you couldn't compete against Vince. No one can. Not in the wrestling. Not in the wrestling business, because he's just too dirty, and you're not. And wrestlers try to take advantage of you on that. I know all about it. So here we come. The bombshell. Let's say Chris Benoit marries first a man named Jim Doss in Florida when I met Nancy on the front cover of those magazines that I had said earlier, right here in 1984. That's Nancy when she just turned 20. Okay. Nancy then married Kevin Sullivan, another wrestler. They divorced. Then Nancy married Chris Benoit, who was probably other than Dynamite Kid, because he copied Dynamite Kid's style, and he became probably the top worker in professional wrestling. It's not the heavyweights that do it anymore, even in boxing and UFC. It's these guys, in the middleweights to 220s. So I started looking into it. And I seen the angle where Vince blew himself up in a fucking truck. Boom! You're dead! Well, I wish that would have been true. That's Billy Jack talking. I wish that was true. I seen the angle, man. Guy taped it and showed it to me. I started putting 2 and 2 together. 2003 or 2004, at the Rose Garden, I used to get 500 pills from Chris Benoit, from Dr. Aston, and he'd sell them to me for $1 a piece, 7.5 Vicodins. I probably bought 10 bottles from Chris. We'd meet at the 7-Eleven by the Rose Garden. I wouldn't go nowhere near it because Vince would freak out, probably, I don't know what he'd do. I heard he had extra security when Donald Trump was there a couple years back. That makes me laugh, man, a year back or so. You scared of me, Vince? You fuck. Okay, so here we go. Here's a bombshell. Chris Benoit and Nancy Benoit had a child named Daniel. Now, Chris loved Daniel so much that he would do anything for him. I mean, that's all he could ever talk about was Daniel, 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 Daniel. Vince, he loved him. True love. But you know the truth. The real truth is, Chris asked me if Vince ever fucked my wife before in life. That's what this is all about. And you know damn well what the truth is. I told him, I said, no, I never fucked, I don't think. Oral sex, yeah. So, what the explosion was over was that he knew that you were fucking Nancy Benoit when he was wrestling. So you worked the angle out of the way, and 14 hours before it ever happened, it came up on the internet. That somehow became just a figment of someone's imagination, which personally I don't buy, but I don't need to buy it anyway. You got yourself out of the way. Chris would never, ever kill Daniel. Never. Unless the kid was yours. Nancy, the day before, went and seen Dr. Aston, the family doctor. Chris Benoit's and Nancy's doctor. Dr. Aston, of course, that's where everybody got their drugs too, as everybody's found out. 15 other wrestlers. Probably all of them. Vince, right? Dr. Phil Aston in Georgia. So, what happens is, he comes home, they get in a fight, and the only way that he would have ever killed Daniel, unless he was murdered by your people, which really could have happened, right, Vince? Because it was 2 days apart. Boom, 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 with Bibles by him. Everything planned by your Jerry McDevitt, looks like to me. But what happened was, the baby, the argument they had, the baby wasn't his. He was convinced of that it was your child, Vince. So as soon as they die, and you put them on the air, you sweep it under the rug like it never happened, and you come back, next thing you know, Chris Benoit is wiped completely off the face of the earth. Next! And we're talking about what happened on People magazine. They know about you now. You're talking about one of my friends here. Talking about Dynamite Kid, the guy who trained me, the guy he emanated and imitated. He didn't like many people. He was like me. He's kind of a sociopath. Quiet. Brad Armstrong, by the way. I had my best match in the world over anybody with Brad Armstrong in 1995, my last leg. But how guilty can you feel about this, Vince? Come on, man. And you're out of the picture, and you want to wipe a man who made so much money, all of his videos, because what? Because he killed his wife? Well, if you was fucking his wife, you wouldn't have killed her. So here's what we need to do. Vince, you need to take a DNA test, because it's 50-50. It could be your kid. The day before, Nancy went down and talked to Dr. Aston, Dr. Phil Aston in Fayetteville, and then the day after, the day of the murder, Chris went down. It went down then. That night is when the murders happened. So either you did them, or you're telling me that Nancy told Chris that you guys were fucking, because you know you fucked her, Vince. You fucked her many times. I shouldn't be using the word F, but I'm just telling it the way it is. Made love? It couldn't be made love. You got a wife, Linda, don't you? You having an affair with the guy's wrestler, Chris Benoit, the best wrestler in WWE. They say they had the brain of a 90-year-old man, and you were still letting him wrestle? Do you believe that, Vince? You know he was into drugs. The autopsy showed they were both into drugs. Come on. But the thing is, they didn't die of drugs. It was a murder. It was a murder plot. I phoned Fayetteville County myself, and I said to them, have you had a motivation on this murder? I want to know. I talked to this guy, man. I talked to him. I talked to the district attorney, and they said, we investigated a year and a half, man. We have not an answer why he killed this kid. why this murder took place. I talked to him for an hour. I said, I'm going to come down and talk to you, District Attorney Ballard. And I told him, I think I know, that Vince McMahon was fucking his wife. They had an argument. She said she was fucking Vince, and that kid is not yours. It's Vince McMahon's kid. And he went over the edge and lost it. Because he would not kill that kid for nothing. Now, he might knock her in her ass and walk out with Danny, but he would never kill the kid. So you murdered him, Vince, or you're fucker, and he found out about it, and he went nuts in his own way and did his own thing. And that could have happened too. But take your DNA, man, and you take a lie detector test right along with me. How about that? You prove to the whole world. How about on Nancy Grace? After that whoever killed that little girl's trial's over. That woman who killed a little girl, it's ridiculous. So guilty, but, I mean, come on. I'll do that, Vince. I'm challenging to that right now. Because I've caught you in about, I don't know how many lives I've caught you in, man. And I feel really good about it. You want to come after me, come after me. You leave these people alone. It's all on me, man. Freedom of speech. I know I repeat myself a few times. You put yourself in my shoes, man. I've been all over this globe, but I've never met a promoter like Vince Killer McMahon Jr. who don't care about nobody but money and egos. Look at his ego. He's involved almost every Monday, I guess. I seen it last Monday. Just 14 years I stay away from wrestling. And this shit starts happening because I was a drug addict. Now I'm not a drug addict no more. I'm clean. I feel good about it. And man, I want to take you to town. I want you out of business. Ban the WWE. If you got stock in the WWE, get rid of it. Look what he did last Monday. Enos to penis. This is not entertainment, man. It's not entertainment. It's exposing young kids, man. He doesn't care what he says. I know this video has a lot of filth in it, so I'm sure there'll be a disclaimer on it to say, kids, be careful, beware. There's going to be a lot of heavy stuff on this. So you watch it first and see if your kids should be able to watch it. Just tell them a little bit about it, adults. That's all I really have to say.